Hi, it's John down in the basement enjoying a cup of coffee just after 5 o'clock in the morning and just checking out what's going on in the world. And a couple of things have popped up over the last few days that have had my interest. They're not from the same place, but they are connected. There's a common thread with these things. Wanted to start off with a quote this morning. George Washington said, "If freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent we may be led like sheep to the slaughter." Freedom of speech in Western society is incredibly important. In fact, in the United States, it's the very first amendment of the Constitution. Number one, freedom of speech. And it's slowly being eroded away under the guise of misinformation and disinformation by governments around the world. Now, I want to talk about Alison Pearson. Do you know who Alison Pearson is? Alison Pearson is a journalist over in England, and the other day she was going out for Remembrance Sunday in England, out to a ceremony, when the police showed up at her door. And she said, "Why are you here?" And they said, "You're being charged with a non-crime hate incident." A non-crime hate incident sounds rather Orwellian, doesn't it? Well, we'll get to Orwell in just a moment. I'm going to end with an Orwell quote here in a moment. But yeah, non-crime hate incident. So she said to them, "Well, what have I done?" And they said, "Well, we can't tell you other than that about a year ago you tweeted something and somebody reported it." "Well, who reported it?" "We can't tell you who that is." "Well, what did I say?" "We can't tell you that either." So she's being charged with a non-crime hate incident. So it's not a crime. So that's okay then, right? No, it isn't. Apparently, it will go on your record, and if you were charged with a non-crime hate incident, the police may not even have showed up at your door, but it's on your record. So you go for a job, and then they do a background check on you, and then you lose the job because you've been charged with a non-crime hate incident. It's disgusting, and it's a big story in England right now, a real big one. And there are thousands, tens of thousands of people I understand over in England that have had the same thing happen to them. Meanwhile, police can't solve any crimes. They're solving virtually nothing, but it seems they're running around going after people who tweet something that somebody found offensive. So that's where we are over in England. Now, here in Canada, National Post is running a story, and this is bubbling under, and it's connected with another story. And I don't want to get too deep into the weeds with this, so this will go on forever. Ottawa is asked to adopt an anti Palestinian racism approach, alarming Jewish groups worried about pro Israel speech. Now, we have in Canada, believe it or not, an anti Islamophobia representative named Amira El-Gawabi. Now, this woman is a real piece of work. She's been rather controversial since she got this post. I think it was Christopher Hitchens said that Islamophobia is a word created by fascists, used by cowards to manipulate morons. And what they basically want to do is make it illegal in Canada, take away the speech of people who want to be critical of what's going on over in Palestine right now, or at least the Palestinian people. Palestinian people. Jewish groups are upset about this because they're worried that their defense of Israel could be considered a crime very soon. Another thing that's happening here in Canada is a woman has written a 600-page report on residential school denialism. They want to make that illegal as well, which is absolutely ridiculous. Now, if you haven't been following what's going on here in Canada, we had schools. Natives were taken to these schools by the government years ago, and a lot of these children were abused and had awful experiences there. And I don't think many people deny that that actually happened. I have read reports where people said this was a good experience for them. You may be aware of a story that ran rampant several years ago about mass graves of children at these residential schools. And so far, after about 3 years and millions upon millions of taxpayer dollars being spent on this, nobody decided to go out and buy a $9 shovel to dig a hole to find out if anybody's in the graves. Not a single body has been found at this point. But this really scares me. Here in Canada, a number of bills are going through Parliament that will shut down speech online. And these things, this is creeping authoritarianism. And the government seems to think that it is the only entity that can tell you what is true and what isn't. You need to find out what the truth is yourself. And the words misinformation and disinformation, those are the buzzwords they're using to shut down your free speech. I'm a free speech absolutist. I think you should be able to say anything you want. You know, I don't know, there is Voltaire. I think it's been credited to him. I think he said, you know, I may not agree with your speech, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it. As long as you're not calling for the death of somebody or calling for violence, you should be able to say anything you want. I want to end with George Orwell. Orwell wrote a book of fiction, but it's being used as a guidebook for governments and people around the world right now. And this is what he said. Everything faded into mist. The past was erased. The erasure was forgotten. The lie became the truth. Every record has been destroyed or falsified. Every book has been rewritten. Every picture has been repainted. Every statue and street and building has been renamed. Every date has been altered. And that process is continuing day by day and minute by minute. History has stopped. Nothing exists except an endless present in which the party is always right. Thanks for watching.